This video was made on September 27th, 2023. So at the time of making it, this is a look at JS Trucking. This really is a recap of our safety meeting information from early 2023, information we believe every driver who is new to starting with us should also be aware of. We will be discussing CSA in particular, unsafe driving category, some of the driver fitness category, and vehicle maintenance. Anytime you are inspected or interacting with the police, you should contact the office. Let them know, I've been pulled over and am getting an inspection. If you're an ELD driver, put yourself on duty and add a remark typing in the words inspection as the remark. After the inspection is finished, regardless of the outcome, take a photo of the paperwork and send a copy to a member of the safety team. Now call the safety team member and ask them to review it and make certain it is okay to move the truck before proceeding. What we want to avoid here is you violating an out-of-service order. If that happens, you face fines that are thousands of dollars and your driver's license will be suspended for 9 months the first time. We have training in reading the documentation from the police, so let us help you not get in that kind of trouble. How does a violation ticket affect you? Let's start with an actual ticket. A ticket gives you the chance to defend whatever choice you made. You will likely have a court date and can bring a lawyer to fight the charge. If you're found not guilty, the stop will be like it didn't happen at all. If you are found guilty of the ticket, this will go on your MVR. The first and biggest tool that decides if a company will hire you is your MVR. A clean MVR makes you an ideal candidate. The more tickets on your MVR, the less likely anyone will want to hire you. In addition, every year a motor carrier must examine your MVR and decide if you are still a safe driver. If they do not believe you are safe, they can and will remove you from your driving position. In the event of a warning or a violation, those do not show on your MVR. However, they do show up on your PSP report. A PSP report is a pre-employment screening program that gives motor carrier details of every roadside inspection for the past 3 years and every crash for the last 5 years. PSP is another tool that greatly helps determine for a motor carrier if you are a safe driver and whether they should hire you or not. So while you might not think anything is wrong when you get a warning, it absolutely affects you and it affects the motor carrier. A ticket, violation, or a warning all encompasses points that affect a motor carrier's overall score. For instance, at the time of making this video, our unsafe driving score is at 19%. Hours of service is at 32%. Driver fitness shows less than 5 inspections with violations, and controlled substance is 0. The lower the number, the better. If your number goes over 65, as a hazmat carrier, it triggers events and warnings within DOT and can affect a motor carrier's ability to receive work from customers. Safety is our #1 priority at JAS. If you don't share that judgment, there are a lot of trucking companies that would love to work with you, but we are not the right fit for you. If you don't believe in the rules of safety, we are the wrong company to work for. In the event you get a violation, we do have corrective action. This can be anything from fixing the mechanical issue on your truck and getting a new inspection to classes on the subject that must be completed before you can work again, and or all of these things. In extreme examples, we may have much harder requirements. Violate the hours of service rules, and you'll be required to sit home for a week. If that all sounds harsh, it's because you're driving an 80,000-pound truck trailer down the road, so we want you to be as safe as possible. Unsafe driving. There are so many things that fall under this that we can't discuss them all in this video. There are a great many more videos in our YouTube library that go into these more extensively, and I simply encourage you to watch them all. Every Friday a new one will come out, so it's a good idea to subscribe to this channel. Most of the violations that drivers get in trouble for are actually in the state of Indiana. Our trend is only 5 or so trucks out of 100 are actually in Indiana daily, but our violations from Indiana account for a full 50% of violations. Speeding. Speed limits tell you the maximum you can go. You don't have to top at the maximum, and you do not really save yourself any real time by going faster. Route 30 in Indiana changes the speed limit often from 65 to 40. Be prepared to slow down. This is a giant speed trap for trucks. If you're driving on Route 30, you really need to take your time. Left lane. Simply put, on highways in any state in the Midwest, you do not belong in the left lane unless signs are directing you, your exit ramp is coming up on the left, or there is some obstacle to get around. Simply moving to the left lane because you want to go faster is unacceptable. Stay out of the left lane entirely on Route 30 in Indiana. Cell phone. It must be hands-free. You should not be on any kind of streaming site, even if you're not using it, only listening to something. Your cell phone will show what you were doing, and no one will believe you were only listening to something if you're ever in a bad crash. So if it streams any kind of video, don't use it while driving. Best choice with your cell phone is make it inaccessible to yourself while driving, and use a good Bluetooth headset that lets you answer calls without touching the phone. If you get a cell phone violation warning ticket, you'll be looking for a new job. You control that 100%, so I know you care nothing regarding safety if you can't abide the cell phone rules. Seatbelt. This is a monster on points with regard to the unsafe category. It's also very simple. Always wear your seatbelt if the truck is not in park. If you don't like wearing a seatbelt, this is the wrong place to work. I can personally suggest at least 10 trucking companies that won't care. I do care deeply about this one. So if you get a seatbelt ticket, you will be fired. Again, this is something you control 100%. Public area, private area, if it's not in park, it must be worn. Following distance. The Illinois CDL handbook says if you're going 40 miles an hour and have a 53-foot container on your back, the following distance should be 7 seconds. Every 10 miles an hour faster should add 1 more second following distance. Driver fitness. This encompasses things like your medical card, which having a new medical card isn't quite good enough. Once you have a new medical card, you must get it updated with the DMV so it shows on your MVR. If you haven't done that, you will be found out of service during an inspection, and someone will have to drive your truck back home for you. Other things to be aware of. If you have a restriction on your license that requires you to wear glasses, you must wear glasses or contacts while driving. Any violation regarding this usually occurs because the truck driver didn't read his mail. As a truck driver, you need to read your mail regularly so you don't miss any important correspondence from the state that might alert you of child support issues, pulling your license, or missing medical card data. Vehicle maintenance. Anytime your container or truck gets a violation, this contributes to the overall vehicle maintenance score. You might have wondered why we make you inspect the truck at a place we trust 4 times yearly. Well, this is the main reason. This score is the one that we struggle with the most. The number one driver of the score is lights. Anytime a light in the back of the rear of the chassis will always result in an out of service. This includes your brake lights, running lights, turn signals. These are critical to check every time you hook up to a container. Equally, you should be checking all of these on your bobtail during your pre-trip inspection. Use the J-bar. Do check your brake lights every day. The second biggest driver of points is brakes. When they are discussing brakes, they mean the parts you can check. The brake lining on the tires, the air pressure, checking for audible leaks after hooking up. The third driver of the score has been window tints. We do not allow window tints on any of the trucks. The reason is, once your windshield comes pre-tinted. So if you add tint to that already tinted window, it will be too dark to pass a DOT inspection. Anytime you're going through a scale on a trip, you should check everything in advance just to make sure everything is good to go. Check your weights while you're at it. Better to avoid the problem up front than find out when you're out at the scale house. Pin locks also need to be checked. Make sure the chassis is secure and make sure the locks work. Also, make sure to zip tie the locking mechanism so it doesn't pop out. $75 per missing zip tie is a fine for not having them. Other things that are important to check out that don't fall under a pre-trip inspection are things like door latches. If the door latch doesn't work, don't make any pickup with the container. Talk to your dispatch. Some rails will reject you outright, and you can become responsible for the cost of transloading your freight into another container. This is not a cheap scenario. thousands of dollars at risk. Last piece of business. In this link to the video is another video produced by Ayanna that is the best version of a pre-trip inspection I've seen. Every driver should watch this. Two things I really like about it. This is an extremely long, thorough inspection that doesn't take very long. The second thing, I don't know what you might not know, so this covers everything. So make sure to watch that video after this one. One last thing I want to tell you. Whenever you drop a container, you need to do a post-trip inspection on that container. The reason you're doing that post-trip inspection is to make sure the next driver doesn't encounter issues you missed. So make sure you do a post-trip inspection. You can be banned from accounts and banned from dropping hooks specifically if you fail to do a good post-trip inspection. So always check these things before another driver encounters.